It is 4 o'clock, October 20th. I'm gonna call to order the meeting of the Board of Assessors. This is a special meeting we're having just to discuss the tax shift prior to the selectmen's shift meeting. I'm gonna let Kelly start us off and tell us about all the numbers she's got for us.
Start the meeting? I'll second.
You got a motion to start the meeting in a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks,
So
Bob.
moved.
Just want to go over what we all have in front of us. Just to review, last year for fiscal 2022, the total tax levy of the town was $20,400,000. I'm just going to use whole numbers. And the maximum levy that we could have collected was 20.5. The selectmen chose to leave the excess levy capacity of $110,000, which is the difference of those two numbers. And the tax rate certified last year was $13.27 per thousand for residential and $17.18 per thousand for commercial, industrial, personal property. That was with the ratification of a 25% tax shift. If you look at the next page, this is the proposed fiscal 2022 tax levy data. We're looking at the maximum allowable levy to be $21.5 million, which brought up the levy to about $1 million between 2022 and 2023. Again, that is the top number. Doesn't necessarily they're going to collect that from taxation. That's just the maximum allowed to be collected, and that percent change is 6% between Prop 2.5 new growth and the debt exclusion. Again, this number of new growth for the $491,306 is submitted to the Department of Revenue. It has not yet been certified, but if that number changes, it will not be a lot. It will be about $30,000. In the scope of things, I don't think it will have that much of an impact. If you look at the third page, that's the breakdown of the tax rates based on the $21.5 million levy. And that first line just gives you the scenario of last year. So the 25% tax rate with the 25% tax shift with the two rates. And if you go across from left to right, looking at the value, that's the total tax dollars per year. If you look at the scenario for 25% for fiscal 23 proposed, it is quite a difference. It is much lower tax rate. However, values have gone up overall in that class about 13%. If you look at an individual account, it's closer to 15 to 17%, but that's the overall number. And down at the bottom, it breaks down each of the classes and the shared weight, where residential is 88%, where the commercial is 2%, industrial is 2%, and personal property is 8% of the total shared percentage of levy. And as you can see, the percent change was most dramatically seen in the residential category. The next page just basically gives you an example. What we're looking at for a single family dwelling that had no change, no permitting, no type of growth between 22 and 23. In FY22, valued committed at $287,000, paid a tax of $3,808.49. For fiscal 2023, keeping the same scenario of the 25% shift, the proposed residential value with that increment of going up, it's actually 17%, the overall category being 13%, brought that value to $345,000 with a proposed residential tax of $4,253.85, which is a difference in increase annually of $445.36, and a difference of value of $58,000. The next page is, sorry.
I don't wanna take you off track, but a $287,000 house isn't even a high-valued house.
No,
So,
that's why I
Going
picked
up
those
for-
numbers. I
yeah.
picked those numbers. You know, because our, going back to what I said, our average home in Acushnet in 2022, fiscal 2022 was about $313,000, and if you look on the worksheet, the average value now is up to $394. So it's quite a difference.
$80,000 increase.
Yep.
Or over.
Roughly.
On average,
Almost
yeah.
25%.
Yep. So on the next page is a sampling of a commercial property where the value went up from 296.5 to 316.6, which is 7%. Looking at the total commercial committed taxes of $5,093.87 compared to $5,045.01 proposed for fiscal '23, which would actually be a savings of $48.86 to the commercial industrial class. And lastly, the last page is basically the breakdown in increments of 5 of the tax shift. And if you look far across to the far right, it'll give you the breakdown of each tax rate dependent upon the shift. All of these numbers are based on the $21.5 million levy. And on the top left, you can see the breakdown of shared percentage of value per class.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So the homeowner's gonna pay.
Unfortunately,
Well, we were 94%, whatever it is, 96%.
no, actually,
Oh, it went up, down
yes,
that much?
because,
Wow.
What's the
because,
commercial rate? I mean, 2%, the town's commercial.
2%.
yes,
Yeah.
2% commercial,
It'll put
2%
value.
industrial.
and 8% personal property. And I can tell you the contributory factors for personal property are definitely the solar arrays, which are taxable, and their personal property associated with that. That's where we're basically seeing the boost of percent change of value in that category. For fiscal 2023, the impact is, even though we have about, don't quote me, several solar projects in the works for permitting purposes in the 1/1/22 assessment date, the only impact this year with that was the Wing Lane property of the extension and the other side going online. So 87 Wing Lane, which is the map 15 side, had their extension, and then the other side, which is the 88 Wing Lane, is actually online this year and operational. So that's where you're seeing that. Again, the Board of Assessors statutorily give the recommendation to the Board of Selectmen. The Selectmen have the final call on the ratification by statute. This is just basically to give them the information they need to make an educated decision on what they feel would be the best course for the town.
I think, the numbers are, obviously don't lie.
Yeah.
The commercial end of it, without a higher shift, is gonna have a savings, and the residents are gonna pay a lot more.
My
And
opinion.
the residents don't really have, as far as I know, a big influx of money to pay another 500 on the low side of average more.
I would recommend, honestly, as high as we can. Only because the commercial has a way of charging more. Residents,
Yeah, I think the impact on the commercial should be a little bit more if we could.
Again, what you recommend here today collectively
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
board
we don't
is
have
not
a say.
necessarily going to be
No,
what happens.
of course, but we can make a recommendation, we can just get the ball rolling. if-
100%.
I mean, I really think, no disrespect to the businesses, but they, like you said, Lee, they have
They have
a way of
recoup it.
maybe recouping it through their
And just be
retail,
advised, the
whatever you call it.
classification hearing is next Tuesday, the 25th, with the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah. I mean, what the commercial saving is peanuts compared to what the residential's end up paying, I think, in true real time, $50 is nothing for a business to.
Through the numbers, we can't stop the
Right.
residents from paying more, values are up.
Right, but
taxes
we can
are
try
up.
to knock that number down a bit if we can.
We can recommend, I believe,
Yeah.
a 40% split, 1.4 split, and still not be impacting the
Right.
businesses,
Yeah,
just
deferred
giving,
enough to,
Yep.
yeah.
they're still not gonna be paying more, so.
Well, if that's the number, I haven't done the numbers, but if
And the
that's the number,
average
usually
would be about, an increase of about $250 for the residential.
homeowners versus the
Versus the
five-ish,
445,
yeah,
right?
4.5.
whatever you
If that's
guys
the right
think.
number, I haven't looked at the numbers,
No,
but
it
if
is.
that's the right number, I'm game for that, really.
1.4 to 1.5, it
Yeah.
isn't, I think, too much.
That'll
burden
cut the
on
residential in
business.
half, pretty much, and then add to the commercial a little bit to make it more feasible for
That
you.
is
Slightly
correct.
different.
I think that's the right thing to do in this time, you know.
So a
What
roll
we
call
have
vote
is-
needs to be taken by the board once you get to your final
Your
decision.
motion is for 1.4 or 1.5?
I think, I mean, the whole thing, but I don't know. I mean, what's the difference? Do you have the numbers, the difference between a 1.4 and a 1.5? I mean, is it just?
It's right at the last
I
page.
can't, my mind's
17 to
burned out.
$19.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. It would bring it down, the commercial tax rate would go to 1912, and the residential tax rate would go to 1191, based on the
Well,
same.
what's the difference between a 1.4 to 1.5 commercial? And what I'm trying to figure out. I can't. say.
1849 to 1912.
Oh, that's not, yeah.
Well, $17
No,
to $19.
1785.
Yeah, I'm
To
sorry, I'm
1912.
looking at the bottom.
1785 to
That is correct.
1912.
No, 1785 to, yes, to 1912.
1912.
I'm sorry.
That's
It's
not,
five,
that's,
it's five.
yeah, that's,
It's not much on the residential either, as you're talking about. Nine.
so.
The
that's-
residential taxpayer is going to see an increase
Of
in
course,
taxation.
but if we can minimize it,
That's just
so
the
the 1.5
reality.
would minimize the same amount pretty much to the residential, if,
It'll bring the residential rate from 208 down to 1192. And again, at the current, which is 125, if the selectmen keep it the same, the rate will be 1233. So if we go to the 150, it's only gonna drop to 1191.
Yeah.
I mean, you're only talking
That's nothing, no.
40 cents.
Yeah.
on 1,000, no, that's nothing, yeah.
Well, times
It's been like status
500,000.
quo for 125.
It's been for 10 years. Actually,
Forever, I
looked
mean,
at
as long
that.
as I've been involved with this, it's been 125.
Times 100,000 will be 40 bucks,
Yeah.
and if you,
Correct.
you know,
Yeah,
300,000,
so
now
on
you're
and so forth.
120
Yeah, yeah,
bucks.
yeah,
That is
yeah.
correct.
So I'm game for that. I'll make a motion to try to accept the,
How
1.5.
hard is it to come back?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to recommend to the Board of Selectmen that we recommend a 1.5% split rate. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Roll call is aye, aye, aye.
Aye.
Correct.
Okay.
Triple aye.
Do you have any questions for me?
No, very well, thank you.
Really rolled it all out.
Nice presentation.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I can't see anything to get some glasses.
Do you have any other business we need to discuss today?
Not at this time.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Next meeting?
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.